All right, I'm gonna try something a little bit different. I've been consuming a lot of Christo content. I think I'm gonna start his course soon, but I really like his way of presenting information. So we're gonna watch something together, and maybe this doesn't get
Space.
copyright
When your
stricken.
clients come to you and ask you for a logo or website, we don't have clearly defined expectations of outcomes. We don't know what the next steps are. And we don't communicate any of that. Mostly it's because we're afraid of the friction. We're afraid of asking for more information or going through enough detail so the other person feels reassured that we heard them and that they understand what the next steps are. So our avoidance of the friction in the moment creates a lot more friction in the future.
Mm.
And it's one of the most powerful lessons I learned from my business coach, the thing that allowed me to double my revenue from $2.2 million to 3.9, which is say what it is you think. Ask more questions, ask clarifying questions. And that gives the other person a sense of you see me, you hear me, you understand me.
Mm.
And that's how we won business for things we had no right to win. How we were able to jump categories from doing motion design to brand identity design to doing exhibition design and designing virtual reality experiences, things I have no right to claim that I can do. But when a client feels you're in rapport and you understand them, they give you a lot more latitude to do things with the full expectation. This is not your expertise. I'm asking if you can help me. So it's a request from them.
Mm.
No more pitching, no more selling, no more presenting.
Honey, I want to help, but I want to make sure that what I do is perceived as helpful. If you're busy right now and you're free, can we discuss what exactly would be helpful to you?
Yeah.
That's the
I
breakdown.
don't have enough information.
I
Yes.
don't have enough
And I'm afraid what I'm
information.
going to do is going to be perceived as unhelpful.
I don't have enough info. Break that down for me. What do you like? I understand the question, and many people might take it and blanket statement, right, and become robots. And we've seen this happen in role plays, right? That's great because you got a copy to learn. But I want you to. You always teach me in the beginning stages. Yes, if you're trying to become an artist like this particular artist, copy the art, copy the art, copy the art, and then modify. But break down the thinking for me. So let's just. I segment it. Honey, I want to help, but I want to make sure that what I do is perceived as helpful. What are you doing just in that beginning statement right there?
You're saying the frame to say like I have my frame of what I think is helpful, but it's more important I understand your frame, and so I need to see the world through your eyes.
So that's the seeing part.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm hearing and seeing. I need to hear more words,
Mm-hmm.
and please describe it to me,
Mm.
so that eventually the words allow me to see what you see, and then I'm going to play back what I saw, and then you're going to tell me it's right or wrong. You're going to make some adjustments.
Now, the if you're busy part, that's more contextual. Maybe your wife was busy at the time, or is that
I'll tell you why.
for everything?
It's almost appropriate for everything. I'll tell you why. People aren't as clear in their thinking as we'd like them to be, myself included. And then we use shorthand, words that we assume everyone knows. And we're always in a rush. No matter what we're doing, we're always in a rush. So I say, hey, Mo, can you work on a new video for me and change the thumbnail? You're cool, I got you. But what did you get? We haven't yet seen eye to eye on anything.
Correct.
Right?
I can already see the parallels in business around all of
A
this.
ton. Client calls you. I need a new logo. I hear you do great logos. Great. Here's the invoice. Let's start. Based on what? You don't even understand.
Right.
So people, and then we've seen this in numerous role plays, they ask 2 or 3 questions, no follow-up questions, and they're like, okay, let's get started. I'm like, why would I do that? You don't even know what it is I want. Actually, I don't even like you. Why would you send me a proposal?
I don't even like you.
I mean,
That's so
because do you understand me?
right. Well,
Do
you
we-
need to feel understood
well,
in the moment.
In the creative space, we have to get a lot of abstract things right for this to work. So we need to know, are we inspired by the same things? Do you have the same aesthetic that I have? Can you elevate the crude, unrefined, generic, abstract ways that I describe things into something much more precise that we both could nod our head and said, exactly. Oh my God, you just took my thing, you elevated it. But most creatives don't have language skills, don't have the clarity of thought themselves, might be a little ADHD, are afraid of the friction, so they can't stay in the pocket and have a conversation with a person. And this leads to a lot of misunderstanding and frustration. I've seen this. This is not me speaking esoterically like I've read about it in a book or I watched it in a movie once or twice. I've worked with now hundreds of artists. I'm on both sides as a buyer and a seller of creative services. I know how to buy it. I know how to sell it. So when I see somebody missing a gap, I help them become more informed buyers or I help them become more informed sellers because I know what needs to be done. So I will do both roles for you because
Man, this is hitting home so much, um, because what I'm realizing right now at this stage, talking to clients, potential clients, a lot of times they just assume that their tracking is working, unless there's like a hair on fire moment, right? There's nothing else that needs to be tweaked. There's nothing else that needs to be improved. Um, and also finding out how they're using the data. So I just had my first call from cold email recently, and it was really informative because yeah, they were trying to set up Hyros. They were having some issues with Google Ads since a certain date. Not a whole bunch of investigating on what might have happened during that date. Maybe they'll, bring me on so that I can investigate further. But essentially, they're using Hyros. They've got it set up. They see data coming into Hyros. However, they don't really know where it lives. It didn't live in the source code of the website, and it also did not live inside of GTM. So it's one of those mysteries to where it's like, well, if we don't even know where it's coming from, but you guys have it set up so that it's collecting first party context, but then there's um, the use of that data also. So being able to go to Google Ads and say, hey, this is from Hyros, we're going to use that as the North Star for all of our targeting moving forward. And me being able to say, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, let's move forward on it, versus let's kind of track down and figure out where the tracking is set up in the first place, right? So you have to understand what answer you can give to the client or the potential person that you're wanting to work with, um, so it can start a bigger conversation. And one thing that I learned when I was working with JustWorks is they were really heavy on the conversation piece. They really wanted to understand what was possible and why we would want to do it. And it would end up, a lot of the things, a lot of the conversations I had would end up as bullet points on a slide presentation. And that's not in a bad way. It's more like they're hearing what I'm saying, they're taking it, they're moving it along to their bosses and their boss's boss, and eventually it's landing on like a quarterly initiatives type of sheet, right? So I always thought that was really dope to just have that influence and not necessarily have be looking to get credit for it. I'm just looking to influence the thinking overall around customer journey, around tracking, around understanding that data, around using that data, and everything in between. So that takes a couple things. And what he's talking about is, people are so fast to say, "Hey, yeah, you need me. All right, cool. Let's move forward. Let's get it going." It's the idea of getting married right after your first date, right? And I know that anxiety. I know um that feeling where you're like, hey, I really just want to put some numbers on the board. Essentially, you're trying to score. You're trying to win this game. But it's so beneficial to be a professional and slow down that process and kind of make your potential client jump through some hoops, not in a bad way, but more so like there's a process, there's a survey, there's understanding that they're a fit, there's do they like me, do you like them, it can't just be all about, you know, a transaction. I think the transactional piece is what can get people in trouble real quick. So, and I'm learning that. I've learned that the hard way actually, um, recent. So it's not like a new thing, but it's cool to hear him say this. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that real quick as my recording for the day. I don't really have a whole lot that I want to show from a technical standpoint. I guess I could show you guys a little bit of GA4 stuff, but yeah, let's do that actually. Hold on. Let's just make sure because this screen has been acting weird as hell. All right, cool. So this is the analytics account I've got set up, connected to high level through the measurement protocol. And how to do that is you go over to settings, click this button, all these things fall out. This is all new. We've got events and key events. Those are different. Key events are different than the actual conversions that are available inside of Google Ads. So if you set up a key event, you can mark it. Obviously, it's marked here, but now I have access to add it to Google Ads. But you have to have it marked as a key event. This used to be called just a conversion, plain and simple, and now they have a distinction between key events and conversions inside of Google Ads. Anyways, that's simple enough. Just wanted to go over that. Okay, so a couple of different things. I'm pretty worried about this data deletion request. So if someone just sends up a request, you could do it here. And I haven't done this yet, so I have no experience using it, but um, obviously there's plenty of stuff to do here. User properties, parameters on all events, parameters on selected events, parameters on all events. So I could do parameters on events that I've added user ID to. If I had gotten to a situation where someone wanted to get their, data deleted. Right now I'm in the States, so there's no real problem there, and I only operate here. However, if a user is in the EU and they visit my site, I need to make sure that they receive a pop-up. So I'll be creating um, a basically a walkthrough tutorial of that. I've done it for a client and I haven't done it for myself. Again, cobblers, kids have no shoes situation. So this is my data stream. If I go into this, I can actually see where I can redact data, URL query parameters. I can redact this, um, and that can look like this. And then you can specify what's being passed through. So sometimes on certain events, depending on how you've got it configured, they'll actually pass that information over whenever you fill out a form or whatever. Okay, anyways, I really came here to show you this. There's a couple of different things. So custom events, this is kind of new here. They've got it so that you can modify events here. And this is kind of cool because what I could do is say, let's just call this test. So I could say that if it says join group, which is what happens every time someone goes into my CRM, so they get added to GHL, join group, I can make it, which is the standard event name, by the way, I could change it so that it's called join GHL. And that would be the trick. That's the interesting trick that I could pull right there. Okay. Also, you see all this. So I have a lot of different parameters that are standard that I can add here, from group ID to whatever else. So group ID here, I actually have this inside of high level. So let me see if you guys can see this. I've been having some weird stuff going on with OBS, so that's why I'm just trying to double, triple check. All right, cool. We're good. GA4 join group looks like this. Okay, they add a tag and they send it to analytics. However, inside of Smart Leads, so Smart Leads my email provider, if someone replies, they're going to get pinged at the very end of this sequence right here with measurement protocol. I've got it so that they get pinged and they have this that comes through. So we got their client ID that's coming from the webhook. I've got the user ID that is part of what's called contact ID within the system of GHL. I've got some timestamp stuff. I need to make this dynamic. And then I've got some other details here. So email reply is the name, and then the traffic type is GHL. At one point in the past, I had it so that they were inside of a group, and that group ID was I want to say 123 G123. So I could look one up, but I'm not going to. So if this equals G123, then I want to change this, and then I can say group ID equal, I could make it say NA, whatever. And then if I create that, that's the difference that's going to happen. So every time there's an event name that has this parameter, I don't know why it just says parameter for event name, but whatever. This would be like the main thing, and then the event name is event name, and then a parameter for that event name would be group ID. So whatever. But essentially I can modify it here. So you can send things to GA4 unfiltered, imperfect, not exactly how you want it, but then you can go in and modify that event in order to make it show up in your reporting a certain way. The only other thing you would have to do at that point is change out your dimensions. So you would have to add a custom dimension or metric, depending, but likely in what I've used is custom dimensions. So a metric obviously counts things and is a unit of measurement versus a defining field. So a custom dimension would mean that I would have to add in whatever that modified name is, or else it won't be seen inside of my reporting. So that's very, very important. I can create events from scratch here. So let's say that I don't use let's say that I don't use GTM, or you're working with a client that doesn't have GTM or whatever. You can just create the event here. You can create all your events inside of GA4 actually, and then push it over to Google Ads or wherever you need it to be. So create the event, and then I can make that a key event, and then if it's a key event, I could push it to GAds to actually use it for targeting and things. So that's kind of cool. And the last thing that I wanted to show you guys is this tag situation. So what does this say? This tag has not been detected in the last 48 hours. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what happened there. So I do know that so this GT thing, this is a new idea that came down the pipe recently. So they have a Google tag is what GT stands for. Now, the Google Analytics 4 property starts with G dash, and then the AdWords property or Google Ads property starts with AW. What I've done is I took my GA4 account here and this GA4 account, and then the Google tag here that it got assigned, as well as AW. So all these things are in one place, right? So I can access the same property, the same Google tag property, if I use any of these IDs, all these. So what's really dope about this is I could literally take all these other properties and just add them. I know some of them, wouldn't make sense, but let's say that I had a portfolio of websites. Let's say I have 6 different websites, all with their own Google Analytics 4 measurement ID. I could add each one of them separately um, to the website that they represent, but then inside of my reporting, inside of my account, I can have one property that just kind of holds all of them. And from there, I can send that stuff to a Google Ads account. I don't need to have multiple Google Ads accounts. I could just have one. I could add multiple Google Ads accounts here. It's really limitless, and that extra flexibility that they added in here is really, really dope to me. There's auto event detection, obviously, and then we got sorry, domains. So all the domains that are representative of my brand. For me, it's fixture tracking as well as blue highlighted text. I could also go fix your and do it that way because I've got others. So that's kind of cool. So for me, it's fix Hyros, fix your leads. I've got a couple different ones. So let me actually change this to fix Hyros. Not be cute with the regex. Let's just do it like this. So I've got that. Let's see. User provided data. So these capabilities are here. And this is auto collection for that. So if someone goes to a form and they fill out first name, last name, email, I'll be able to use that as user provided data inside of all the Google Suite. I'll be honest, I've got limited experience with that particular piece. However, I have built this for a client and experimented with it, and it works. Where I want to go with it, and the reason why I say it's limited for me, is I would like my user provided data to come in through a code snippet. So we have this code snippet documentation, and I was using Stape. So Stape's got a really cool tool that allows you to see all the user provided data out of the array. So it pulls it from the array and kind of parses it so I can see the email, the phone number, name as well. So one thing that's kind of tricky is depending on the ad platform you're using, Facebook has a different naming convention for the same exact data, personal data. And then this is obviously for Google Ads. One thing that I've always found useful when going through documentation is making sure I pay attention to what's here in this upper left-hand corner, because that's what this, in context, that's what they're talking about here. All right, cool. So that's an area to think about, and then we can show more, and you can see I've got universal analytics events are turned off. Internal track it, I could do that. If I had unwanted referrals, I could, put a block here. So I did this way so that inside of my reporting, these things that should be collecting in a previous screen, I showed you all the domains, but it's the same. And these should not be counted as referrals because I own all these properties. And I don't want that headache of seeing it as a referral whenever it's actually a first party contact situation. So the dopest thing that I've realized is first party context means any of your properties, if your users are on there and they interact and they're using user provided data, I can then take that data, use it to retarget that person in a modeled way. So there's modeled data versus behavioral data. Behavioral data is going to be based on how they're behaving, but also there's no way to identify that actual person. So you have less data points to really pinpoint that user and how they acted. However, they recently kind of came up with this documentation. You need 1,000 people who have accepted your cookies and 1,000 people who have not accepted your cookies, and then you can start using what's called modeled data. Let me show you so you don't think I'm just throwing random shit out there. But it looks like this. If I go to data collection, I've already done that. Let me find it. Give me a second here. It's in the data related. I just got to remember which one of these. Redact custom events. Give me a second here. Manage connected site tags. That's interesting. I want to see what that's about. I'll figure that out later. Consent settings. Okay. Let's see. They're going to ask me about blended data versus some other ideas here. Data import. I could send that in from we got product links, so I got Google Ads in here, of course. Yeah, PHT offers, perfect. Search console, oops, console, this guy. And then BigQuery, if I had BigQuery, I don't on this one. Okay, I think this is it. If I remember correctly. Nope. I think I'm close though. Is it reporting identity? Yeah, here we go. All right, so I can show all. Obviously, it's kind of, blended between this and model data. So user ID, device ID, and model data. The reason I don't have access to model data just yet estimates user activity when identifiers such as cookies or user ID aren't fully available. Without modeling, your reports won't account for data that can't be directly observed. So they want to either observe it or model it. And so right now, we've got only observed data available for me. Modeling is unavailable for this property. And once it's available, it will be turned on by default. So this is the situation that most people are going to be in right now today, right? And it's kind of one of those situations to where if you don't have it, you won't realize that you're at a disadvantage versus a competitor who does have this. So in a situation where someone does have this and they're in your niche or they're in your industry, they're going to have an advantage over you. Why? Because a stranger who does not accept cookies can come to their website, behave a certain way. And then if it's modeled, then it uses machine learning to say, hey, we got Susie's data, but we don't have unidentified visitors data. But unidentified visitors acting a lot like Susie. Therefore, we can extrapolate and say, hey, they're more likely to be that type of customer. Okay, so now they have like an avatar that you can ping them to, um, and so on and so forth as it goes down the line. So you use that for Google Ads, you use that for understanding what's most likely to happen in the attribution sense. Okay, I hope that doesn't sound absolutely ridiculous, but it's really dope. It's really powerful, and I actually look really I look forward to um, seeing it play out because I I think that's where I'm gonna stop it, y'all. But yeah, GA4 is finally getting powerful. It's gonna get the attention it deserves. Hopefully, people understand how to use it at some point. And I'm looking at it like it's a great collection mechanism. I always thought that about it. I always thought it was kind of difficult to use, but if you use it, you can actually send data from GA4 back to GTM to GTM from to GA4. And if it's in GTM and it goes to GTM or has an opportunity to go to GTM, then you can take it, send it to your server, so server-side tracking, and then from there you can send it server to server. So imagine a situation where I have all these things happening inside of GTM, and then they get sent to a situation where I can massage and change and identify the parameters and add parameters and modify things, transform parameters or hash certain data if I need to, and then send it to Facebook to feed, send it to LinkedIn to feed, send it to Google Ads to feed, on top of me having a better pixel, so to speak. It's not even a pixel, just better targeting in general on all those ad platforms. I'm also going to be able to get more money for my, more bang for my buck, because I can just take, hey, all these people converted. Let's say I got 1,000 people who converted, or even less, 100 people converted. I take that same list and I upload it everywhere. I upload it on all my platforms that I'm going to be using. So now every ad platform understands clearly who my customer really is. And furthermore, when I looked at GA4, I can see where that ad platform fits into the mix as far as my unique customer journey for my business. This is the step towards ownership. This is first party collection. It's everything. So there you go. Peace.